The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Hyunwoo walked through them with steady steps, his black diplomatic uniform clean and pressed. Behind him followed Commander Ji Hae and Dr. Taemin, both wearing their best clothes for this important day. The chamber was huge, with seats arranged in a giant circle. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy sat in those seats, their eyes watching the three humans who walked toward the center. Some aliens looked like tall lizards, others had blue skin and 4 arms, and many had shapes that humans had never seen before. Hyunwoo reached the speaking platform in the middle of the chamber. He looked around at all the alien faces staring down at him. Some looked curious, others seemed bored, and a few appeared annoyed that humans were even here. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Hyunwoo began, his voice clear and strong. I am Ambassador Hyunwoo, speaking for all of humanity. We come before you today asking for membership in this great council. A low rumbling sound came from the alien seats. Some were talking to each other in languages that sounded like clicking noises or deep growls. Hyunwoo waited for them to quiet down before continuing. Humans have spread to 47 worlds in our local space. We have built cities, farms, and factories. We want to trade with other species and learn from your wisdom. We believe we can add something valuable to this council. From one of the higher seats, a large alien with red skin and 6 arms stood up. This was Admiral Veltar of the Hegemony, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. His voice was loud and rough when he spoke. Humans, Veltar said with a laugh that sounded like grinding metal. You have been in space for what, 50 years? We have ruled the stars for thousands. What could you possibly offer us? Ji-Hai stepped forward slightly, but Hyunwoo raised his hand to stop her. He kept his face calm as he answered. We offer our knowledge, Admiral. Our science, our art, our way of solving problems. Every species brings something different to the galaxy. Your science? Veltar laughed again, louder this time. You still use chemical rockets and metal ships. Your weapons are barely better than throwing rocks. What military strength do you have? How many ships, how many soldiers? The chamber fell silent. Every alien leaned forward to hear the human answer. This was always the important question. In the galaxy, only the strong survived and the weak served. Dr. Taemin spoke up for the first time. He was a thin man with kind eyes, but his voice was confident. We have enough ships to defend our worlds, Admiral, and our weapons may surprise you. Surprise me? Veltar's laugh echoed through the chamber. What weapons could possibly surprise the hegemony? Do you have plasma cannons, quantum bombs, dark matter missiles? No, Taemin said simply. We have railguns. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens were talking, laughing, and making various sounds that meant they were amused. Railguns were old technology. Every species had used them thousands of years ago before discovering energy weapons. They were slow, heavy, and primitive. Veltar was laughing so hard his red skin turned darker. Railguns. Did you hear that, Council? Members. The humans think railguns can compete with modern weapons. A blue-skinned alien with large eyes raised one of her 4 hands. This was Kixuna, a representative from the Observer Corps, a neutral organization that studied new species. Her voice was high and musical. Perhaps we should not dismiss their technology so quickly, Admiral. Many species have found unique ways to use old ideas. Old ideas? Veltar turned to face her. Kixuna. Railguns shoot metal slugs. They are slow, predictable, and useless against modern shields. Any child knows this. Hyunwoo stepped forward again. His voice remained calm, but there was something harder in it now. Admiral, with respect, you may want to study our railgun technology before you make such statements. Are you threatening the hegemony human? Veltar's 6 arms spread wide, making him look even more intimidating. No, Admiral. I am giving you friendly advice. We came here seeking peace and cooperation, but we will not be bullied or attacked. We are stronger than we look. The chamber went quiet again. Some aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Threatening the hegemony was something only very powerful species dared to do. Veltar stared down at the small human ambassador. Is that a warning, human? It is information, Admiral. What you do with that information is your choice. The council leader, an ancient being that looked like a walking tree, tapped his staff on the floor. The sound rang through the chamber like a bell. The council will now vote on the human request for membership, the leader announced in a voice like rustling leaves. The voting was quick. Lights appeared above each alien's seat, green for yes, red for no, yellow for neutral. When the counting was done, most of the lights were red or yellow. The Galactic Council grants humanity probationary observer status, the leader announced. You may attend meetings but cannot vote on council decisions. This status will be reviewed in 5 standard years. Hyunwoo bowed his head slightly. Thank you for your consideration, council leader. As the 3 humans walked back toward the chamber doors, they could hear aliens talking among themselves. Most of the talk was about how amusing it was that humans thought railguns could be effective weapons. Ji-hai walked close to Hyunwoo and spoke quietly. They think we are weak. I know, Hyunwoo replied without looking back at the aliens. Should we have shown them the test footage from Mars? Taemin asked. No, Hyunwoo said firmly. Let them think we are weak. It will make things easier later. As they reached the doors, Admiral Veltar's voice called out behind them. Human ambassador. Hyunwoo turned around. Veltar was standing at his seat, all 6 arms crossed over his chest. Remember this day, human. Remember that the hegemony could crush your little worlds whenever we choose. Your railguns and 47 planets mean nothing to us. Hyunwoo looked up at the alien admiral for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly through the entire chamber. Admiral Veltar, I hope you remember this day too. I hope you remember that humanity offered you friendship first. The 3 humans walked out of the chamber, leaving behind hundreds of aliens who had no idea that they had just made a terrible mistake. Outside the chamber, Ji-hai shook her head. They have no idea what our railguns can really do. Taemin smiled. Let them find out the hard way. Hyunwoo looked back at the massive doors one last time. We tried to do this peacefully. When they come for our worlds, we will be ready. Captain Dong-hyun stood on the bridge of the patrol ship Incheon's Pride, watching the scanner screens with growing concern. 6 months had passed since humanity's meeting with the Galactic Council, and things were getting worse. Captain, called his communications officer, we have another hegemony ship crossing into our territory, same as yesterday. Dong-hyun rubbed his tired eyes. This was the 5th time this week that hegemony ships had violated human space. Each time they claimed it was an accident. Each time they stayed just long enough to scan human defenses before leaving. How big is it? Dong-hyun asked. Heavy cruiser class. Much bigger than us. The captain looked at his small crew. The Incheon's Pride was just a patrol ship with light weapons and thin armor. If the hegemony ship wanted a fight, it would be over quickly. Send them the standard warning, Dong-hyun ordered. Tell them they are in human space and must leave immediately. The communications officer worked at his station for a moment. Message sent, Captain. They are responding. The main screen flickered and showed the face of a red-skinned hegemony officer. His 6 arms were folded and he looked annoyed. Human patrol ship, this is Commander Zektal of the hegemony vessel Bloodfang. We are conducting routine navigation exercises. We will leave when we are finished. Dong-hyun stepped forward. Commander, you are in human territory without permission. You must leave now, Zektal laughed, showing sharp teeth. Or what, human? Will you attack us with your primitive weapons? We have scanned your ship. Your missiles and lasers cannot even scratch our shields, it was true. The Incheon's Pride carried standard human weapons from before they joined the galactic community. Against modern alien technology, they were almost useless. This is your final warning, Commander, Dong-hyun said firmly. Warning received and ignored, Zektal replied. The screen went dark. For 3 more hours, the hegemony ship stayed in human space, scanning everything it could find. Finally, it jumped away, leaving Dong-hyun and his crew feeling helpless and angry. Back on the human colony world of New Seoul, Engineer So Young was working 18 hours a day in the weapons research facility. The main laboratory was filled with the sounds of machinery and the bright flashes of welding torches. How much longer? Asked Yong-soo, the colony's defense coordinator. He was a worried man who checked the sky every few minutes expecting to see enemy ships. So Young wiped sweat from her forehead with a dirty cloth. The first ship-mounted railgun should be ready for testing in 2 weeks. But making enough for the whole fleet will take months. We might not have months, Yongsu said. The hegemony ships are getting bolder. Yesterday they scanned our orbital platforms. Today they might start shooting. So Young looked at the half-built railgun in front of her. It was a massive weapon, much larger than anything humans had built before. The magnetic coils that would fire the projectile were as thick as tree trunks. I know, she said quietly. We are working as fast as we can. The problem was not just building the railguns. So Young and her team had solved the technical challenges months ago. The problem was that nobody in the galaxy understood what human railguns could really do. Other species had abandoned railgun technology because their versions were slow and weak. But human railguns were different. Human engineers had found ways to accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds, much faster than anything aliens had ever built. At those speeds, a small piece of metal became more destructive than most energy weapons. But So Young could not tell anyone this. It was humanity's biggest secret. In the diplomatic center of New Seoul, Minister Yoonji was having another frustrating conversation with the Galactic Council. The communication screen showed several alien representatives, none of whom looked interested in what she was saying. The hegemony has violated human territory 17 times this month, Yoonji said, reading from her report. This is clearly preparation for an invasion. The tree-like council leader made a rustling sound that meant he was bored. Minister, the hegemony claims these are navigation errors. Without proof of hostile intent, the council cannot take action. Navigation errors? Yoonji could not hide her frustration. The same kind of navigation error 17 times? All in our most important systems? Admiral Veltar's image appeared on the screen. He was smiling, showing his sharp teeth. Minister Yoonji, perhaps if humanity joined a proper military alliance, you would not need to worry about navigation errors. Everyone knew what he meant. The hegemony controlled dozens of species through military alliances that were really just slavery with a different name. Humanity will never submit to hegemony control, Yoonji said firmly. Then perhaps humanity should have thought of that before spreading to so many worlds, Veltar replied. 47 colonies are difficult to defend with railguns and patrol ships. The connection ended, leaving Yoonji staring at a blank screen. She knew that Veltar was right about one thing. 47 worlds were difficult to defend. But the hegemony had no idea what humanity was really capable of. That night, So Young finally got some good news. The first combat railgun had passed all its tests. The weapon could fire a metal projectile at nearly 10% of light speed. At that velocity, it would punch through any known shield or armor. She called Yongsu with the news. The first gun is ready. We can install it on the Soul's Hammer tomorrow. The Soul's Hammer was Captain Minho's destroyer, the most powerful ship in the human fleet. If anyone could test the new weapon properly, it was Minho. Meanwhile, in the outer systems, Captain Dong Hyun was dealing with another hegemony intrusion. This time it was a squadron of 5 ships, all larger than his patrol vessel. Captain, his scanning officer called out, I am reading weapon systems charging on all 5 ships. Dong Hyun felt his stomach tighten. This was different from the other intrusions. These ships were not just scanning. They were preparing to fight. All hands to battle stations, he ordered. Charge weapons and raise shields. The Inchin's Pride was built for patrol duty, not ship-to-ship combat. But Dong Hyun and his crew were prepared to fight anyway. They were human, and humans did not surrender. The lead hegemony ship opened a communication channel. Commander Zektal appeared on screen again, but this time he was not smiling. Captain Dong Hyun, your patrol ship is illegally armed in neutral space. Surrender your weapons and prepare to be boarded for inspection. This is not neutral space, Dong Hyun replied. This is human territory and you are the ones who are here illegally. Not for much longer, Zektal said. The Hegemony Council has decided that human claims to this system are invalid. You have 1 minute to surrender. Dong Hyun looked at his crew. They were scared but determined. They knew they could not win against 5 heavy ships, but they would fight anyway. Message received, Dong Hyun said. Here is our response. He cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Fire everything we have. The Inchin's Pride unleashed its full arsenal of missiles and laser weapons. The attack struck the hegemony shields and did almost nothing. In return, the 5 enemy ships fired once each. Dong Hyun's ship was crippled in seconds. The engines were dead, life support was failing, and half his crew was injured. But they were alive, and they had sent a message to Fleet Command. As rescue ships arrived to pick up survivors, Dong-hyun looked at the hegemony squadron moving deeper into human space. Soon he knew there would be many more of them. The war was beginning. Admiral In-ho stood in the command center of the human fleet, looking at the tactical display that showed enemy ships gathering at the edge of human space. The numbers were not good. The hegemony had brought over 300 warships, while humanity could only manage 68. "Sir," called Tactical Officer Soo-jin from her station, "we just received the hegemony ultimatum." In-ho walked over to read the message. It was short and to the point. Humanity had 48 hours to surrender all military forces and accept hegemony rule, or face complete destruction. "What do you think, Soo-jin?" In-ho asked. She was young but brilliant, and had been working on new tactics since the Railgun project began. "I think they made a mistake, sir," she replied, pointing at the enemy formation on her screen. "Look how they are arranged. Tight formations, heavy ships in front, light ships behind. It is a classic battle line from 1,000 years ago." In-ho studied the display. Soo-jin was right. The hegemony was using old tactics that had worked against every other species they had conquered. But humans were not like other species. Across the command center, railgun targeting specialist Woo-seok was running calculations on his computer. Before joining the military, he had been a professional gamer, famous for his perfect accuracy in combat simulations. Now he was using those same skills to aim weapons that could destroy capital ships. "Admiral," Woo-seok called out, "I have finished the targeting solutions for the first strike. If we position our ships in the asteroid field near Sejong, we can hit their command vessels before they even know we are there." "How accurate can you be at that range?" In-ho asked. Woo-seok smiled. "Sir, I once won a gaming championship by hitting targets the size of coins from 50 kilometers away. These alien ships are much bigger than coins." In the Marine section of the fleet, Colonel Jae-sung was preparing his soldiers for what everyone hoped would not happen: boarding actions against enemy ships. His Marines were tough and well-trained, but they had never fought aliens before. "Listen up," Jae-sung told his assembled troops. "The enemy thinks we are weak because we use kinetic weapons instead of energy beams. They think our technology is primitive. Let them keep thinking that right up until we punch holes in their ships." The Marines cheered. They had all seen the test footage of human railguns destroying target drones. They knew what their weapons could do. Meanwhile, the hegemony fleet was having its own meeting. Supreme Commander Thexmore was a veteran of dozens of conquests, and he had never lost a battle. He looked at the small human fleet through his ship's sensors and felt almost sorry for them. "Such a tiny force," he said to his staff officers. "Do they really think 68 ships can fight our entire battle fleet?" "Sir," replied his intelligence officer, "our scouts report that the human ships are equipped with primitive railguns. The weapons have very short range and cannot penetrate modern shields." Thexmore nodded. He had conquered species with much better technology than the humans. "This would be easy. Send the final ultimatum," he ordered. "Give them one last chance to surrender." Back in human space, Admiral In-ho was having a final meeting with his ship captains. The holographic display showed the faces of 68 brave men and women who would lead humanity's first real space battle. "You all know the situation," In-ho said. "We are outnumbered 5-1. The enemy has bigger ships, more weapons, and thousands of years of combat experience. But they have never faced human railguns." Captain Min-ho of the destroyer Soul's Hammer raised his hand. His ship was the first to receive the new combat railguns, and he had been testing them for weeks. "Admiral, my crew is ready. We have run hundreds of simulations. Our targeting computers are programmed, and our gunners know their jobs. The enemy will not expect what we can do." In-ho smiled. Min-ho was one of his best captains, calm under pressure and deadly accurate with his weapons. "Captain, your ship will lead the first strike. Once you prove that our railguns work, the rest of the fleet will follow your example." Gunner Hye-jin, Min-ho's weapons specialist, spoke up from her position on the Soul's Hammer. "Sir, permission to make a request?" "Go ahead, Hye-jin. Sir, let me target their flagship first. If we can take out Supreme Commander Thexmore in the opening seconds, the rest of their fleet might panic." In-ho thought about it. It was a bold move, but bold moves often worked best. Permission granted. "Take your best shot, Gunner." Communications Officer Ne-young was monitoring hegemony transmissions when she picked up something interesting. The enemy was sending messages to their home worlds talking about how this would be an easy victory. "Admiral," she called out, "the hegemony commanders are already celebrating. They think this battle is over before it starts." "Good," Inho replied. "Overconfidence is their weakness." Fighter pilot Sung Woo was running final checks on his small spacecraft. Human fighters were not very advanced compared to alien technology, but they were fast and hard to hit. His job was to provide reconnaissance and target information for the railgun strikes. "All fighters report ready," he called over the communication system. "We will be your eyes and ears, Admiral." As the 48-hour deadline approached, Inho made one final attempt at peace. He opened a communication channel to Supreme Commander Thexmore. The alien appeared on screen, looking confident and slightly amused. Behind him, Inho could see the bridge of the massive hegemony flagship. "Supreme Commander, I am Admiral Inho of the human fleet. I am offering you one last chance to withdraw from human space peacefully." Thexmore laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Admiral, you have 68 small ships against my battle fleet of 300. Are you serious?" "I am completely serious," Inho replied. "We do not want war, but we will not surrender our freedom." "Then you will die for your freedom," Thexmore said. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm modern warships. This will be over in minutes." "Commander," Inho said quietly, "you are about to learn why you should never underestimate humans." The screen went dark. Inho turned to his crew and saw determination on every face. They knew they were about to make history. "All ships move to battle positions," Inho ordered. "Target solutions are locked in. Weapons are charged. Today we show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." The human fleet moved into the asteroid field near Sejong, using the floating rocks as cover. Their railguns were aimed at the advancing hegemony formation, waiting for the perfect moment to fire. Supreme Commander Thexmore watched his fleet approach the human position. Soon, he thought, this would all be over. The humans would be defeated. Their worlds would become hegemony colonies. And he would add another victory to his long record. He had no idea that in a few minutes, his mighty fleet would be nothing but floating wreckage, and the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever. Admiral Inho looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 10 seconds until the battle began. "All ships," he said calmly. "Fire when ready." Captain Minho watched his targeting screen as the hegemony fleet moved closer. The enemy ships were arranged in perfect battle formation, their shields glowing bright blue in the darkness of space. They had no idea what was about to happen. "Gunner He-jin, do you have a clear shot at the flagship?" Minho asked. He-jin studied her targeting computer. The massive hegemony command ship was right in the center of their formation, surrounded by smaller vessels. It would be a difficult shot, but not impossible. "Target acquired, Captain. Range is optimal. Railgun is charged and ready. Take the shot." The destroyer Soul's Hammer shuddered as its main railgun fired. There was no bright flash or loud explosion like with energy weapons. Instead, a small piece of metal accelerated to 10% of light speed, invisible to the naked eye. The projectile crossed the distance between the fleets in less than a second. It struck the hegemony flagship directly in the center, where the command bridge was located. The result was devastating. The metal slug, moving at incredible speed, punched through the alien shields like they were made of paper. It tore through the ship's armor, ripped through internal bulkheads, and created a massive explosion that split the flagship in half. Supreme Commander Thexmore had just enough time to see his command center exploding around him before everything went dark. On the human ships, nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. They knew their railguns were powerful, but seeing a massive capital ship destroyed with a single shot was shocking. "Direct hit," He-jin shouted. "The flagship is gone." All across the hegemony fleet, alarm bells were ringing. The aliens could not understand what had just happened. Their most powerful ship, with the best shields and armor in the galaxy, had been destroyed instantly by a primitive human weapon. "All ships, continue firing," Admiral Inho ordered. "Target their heavy cruisers next." The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Dozens of railgun projectiles streaked through space, each one moving too fast for alien sensors to track. The hegemony ships tried to dodge, but you cannot dodge something moving at nearly the speed of light. Ship after ship exploded as the metal slugs tore through their defenses. The aliens' energy shields, designed to deflect laser beams and plasma bolts, were completely useless against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Fighter pilot Sung Woo watched from his small craft as the enemy fleet fell apart. "This is incredible," he radioed back to the main fleet. "Their shields are not stopping anything. It is like shooting fish in a barrel." The hegemony tried to fight back, but their weapons could not reach the human ships. Railguns had much longer range than energy weapons, and the humans were using the asteroid field for cover. Every time an alien ship tried to get closer, it was destroyed by accurate railgun fire. Communications officer Na Young was monitoring enemy transmissions. What she heard made her stomach turn cold. "Admiral," she called out, "the surviving hegemony ships are sending panic messages to their homeworlds. They are saying their shields and armor are useless against our weapons." "Let them send messages," Inho replied grimly. "The galaxy needs to know what happens when you threaten humanity." Gunner Hee-jin had moved on to her next target, a heavy cruiser that was trying to flank the human position. She adjusted her aim carefully and fired another railgun round. The projectile hit the cruiser's engine section, causing a chain reaction that destroyed the entire ship. Hee-jin smiled with satisfaction and immediately began targeting her next victim. "This is too easy," she muttered. "They have no idea how to fight us." She was right. The hegemony had conquered dozens of species, but they had always used the same tactics. Get close, use superior numbers, and overwhelm the enemy with energy weapons. Against humans, none of those tactics worked. Captain Minho was directing his ship's fire when he noticed something on his scanner. "Na Young, are you seeing this? Some of the enemy ships are trying to retreat." "Confirmed, Captain. At least 50 ships are turning away from the battle." Admiral Inho heard this report and made a decision that would be talked about for centuries. "All ships, let them run. Our fight is with the ones brave enough to stay." It was a moment of mercy that the galaxy would remember. Even in the middle of a devastating battle, humans showed honor to enemies who chose retreat over death. But for the hegemony ships that stayed to fight, there would be no mercy. The human fleet continued its methodical destruction of the enemy formation. Tactical Officer Su Jin was amazed at how well her battle plan was working. "Admiral, enemy casualties are at 70% and climbing. We have taken no damage at all. Maintain formation," Inho ordered. "Keep firing until they surrender or retreat." The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted only 30 minutes. When it was over, the mighty hegemony First Fleet was nothing but floating wreckage and emergency escape pods. Of the 300 ships that had come to conquer humanity, only 43 had escaped. The rest were destroyed or so badly damaged they could not move. Colonel Jae-sung and his Marines moved through the wreckage, rescuing alien survivors and taking prisoners. Many of the aliens they found were in shock, unable to understand how their supposedly invincible fleet had been destroyed so easily. One hegemony officer, pulled from the ruins of his ship, grabbed Jae-sung's arm. "How?" the alien gasped. "Your weapons are primitive. Railguns cannot do this." Jae-sung looked at the destroyed ships floating around them. "Maybe you should have studied human railguns more carefully before starting this war." As the rescue operations continued, Admiral Inho received a priority message from Earth. The human government wanted to know the status of the battle. "Message from Earth, Admiral," Na Young reported. "They are asking for a battle report." Inho looked at his tactical display, which showed the complete destruction of the enemy fleet. "Tell them the hegemony First Fleet no longer exists. Human casualties are 0. There was silence on the bridge as everyone realized what they had just accomplished. They had won the most one-sided victory in galactic history, and they had done it without losing a single ship or crew member. Captain Minho shook his head in amazement. "Sir, I never imagined it would be this easy." "It was not easy," Inho corrected him. "It was inevitable. The hegemony brought energy weapons to a railgun fight. Gunner Hee-jin was already thinking about the future. Admiral, when word of this battle spreads, every species in the galaxy will want to know about our weapons." "Let them wonder," Inho replied. "Fear of the unknown is sometimes more powerful than the weapon itself." As the human fleet began collecting salvage from the battlefield, they found something interesting in the wreckage of the hegemony flagship. The ship's communication system was still working, and it had automatically transmitted the entire battle to hegemony command. "Sir," Na Young said excitedly, "the hegemony homeworld saw everything. They watched their entire fleet get destroyed in real time." Inho smiled. This was better than he had hoped. Now the entire hegemony government would know exactly what human railguns could do. Fighter pilot Sung Woo was still patrolling the battlefield when he spotted something unusual. "Admiral, I am detecting a small ship hiding in the asteroid field. It appears to be a hegemony scout vessel." "Let it go," In-ho ordered. "We want survivors to tell the story of what happened here." The scout ship jumped away at maximum speed, carrying news of the battle to the far corners of the galaxy. Soon everyone would know that the hegemony First Fleet had been destroyed by a small force of humans with primitive weapons. As the human fleet prepared to return home, Admiral In-ho took one last look at the battlefield. Floating debris was all that remained of the most powerful military force in local space. "Well done, everyone," he announced to his fleet. "Today, humanity took its place among the great powers of the galaxy." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's long history. Every species had sent their highest representatives, and the massive chamber was packed with aliens who all wanted to understand one thing: how had humans destroyed the hegemony First Fleet? President Changmin walked into the chamber with confidence. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Sejong, and everything had changed. The small human delegation from before was now a large group of diplomats, military officers, and scientists. Behind Changmin walked Ambassador Yu Jin, who had replaced Hyunwoo as head of Human Galactic Relations. General Kyung-ho, the new human military chief of staff, followed closely. At the back of the group was Technology Minister Myung-soo, carrying a briefcase that every alien in the chamber wanted to see inside. The chamber fell silent as Changmin reached the speaking platform. Every alien eye was focused on him, but now they looked at humans with respect instead of amusement. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Changmin began, "3 months ago, you granted humanity probationary observer status. Today we return to discuss our full membership in this council." The council leader, the ancient tree-like being, tapped his staff on the floor. "President Changmin, the council has reviewed the events at Sejong. We understand that human military capabilities were underestimated." From the high seats, several alien representatives began speaking at once. They all wanted to know about human weapons, human technology, and human intentions. A blue-skinned delegate from the Arcturus Federation stood up. "President Changmin, our intelligence reports say that human railguns can penetrate any known shield. Is this accurate?" Changmin looked up at the alien calmly. "Our railgun technology is effective against conventional defenses, yes." Another alien, this one with 4 arms and green skin, called out from across the chamber. "The hegemony claims that human weapons violate galactic warfare conventions. They say kinetic weapons at such velocities are inhumane." General Kyung-ho stepped forward to answer this question. "The hegemony declared war on humanity and invaded our space with superior numbers. We defended ourselves with the weapons we had available. If they consider our weapons inhumane, they should not have attacked us." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many species had suffered under hegemony rule for centuries. The idea that someone had finally beaten them was both exciting and terrifying. Ambassador Yu Jin raised her hand to speak. "Council members, humanity did not seek war with the hegemony. We offered them friendship and trade. They chose to respond with threats and invasion. We simply defended ourselves." "Defended yourselves?" called out a tall alien with silver skin. "You destroyed 300 ships without losing a single vessel. That is not defense, that is domination." The chamber erupted in noise as different species argued among themselves. Some were demanding that humans share their technology. Others were proposing immediate military alliances. A few were suggesting that human weapons should be banned. President Changmin waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. "The Galaxy Council has a choice to make. You can treat humanity as an equal partner, with full rights and responsibilities, or you can treat us as a threat to be contained, but you cannot ignore us anymore." Technology Minister Myung-soo opened his briefcase and pulled out a small device. Every alien in the chamber leaned forward to get a better look. "This is a railgun projectile guidance system," Myung-soo announced. "It can target specific sections of enemy ships with perfect accuracy." The Battle of Sejong was fought with our older, less advanced weapons. The implications were clear. If human primitive weapons could destroy the hegemony fleet, their advanced weapons could probably destroy anyone. From one of the middle sections, Kixuna of the Observer Corps stood up. She had been one of the few aliens to show humans respect during their first visit. "President Changmin, what does humanity want from the galaxy?" Are you seeking to replace the hegemony as the dominant military power? Changmin considered his answer carefully. This was the most important question he would face. Kixuna, humanity wants what every species wants: safety for our worlds, freedom to live as we choose, and fair trade with our neighbors. We have no interest in conquering other species or building an empire. Then why build such powerful weapons? Asked another alien. General Kyung-ho answered this time. Because the galaxy is a dangerous place. We learned that the hard way when the hegemony invaded our space. We will never again be caught unprepared. A communications officer approached Ambassador Yujin and whispered something in her ear. Yujin's eyes widened in surprise. Council leader, Yujin announced. We have just received urgent messages from several species requesting immediate military assistance against hegemony forces. This caused another stir in the chamber. The hegemony, desperate to rebuild their reputation after the Sejong disaster, had apparently attacked 3 different species in the past week. What is your response to these requests? Asked the council leader. President Changmin looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. Humanity will defend any species that asks for our protection, provided they are willing to treat us as equals rather than weapons to be used. Within minutes, delegates from 7 different species had approached the human section, all offering military alliances and full diplomatic recognition. The council leader called for order. The council must now vote on humanity's request for full membership. This time the voting was very different from 3 months before. Green lights appeared above almost every seat in the chamber. When the counting was finished, humanity had been accepted with the largest majority in council history. The Galactic Council grants humanity full membership with all rights and privileges, the council leader announced. Welcome to the community of civilized worlds. Changmin bowed respectfully. Thank you, council leader. Humanity is honored to join this great organization. As the session ended, aliens crowded around the human delegation. Everyone wanted to talk to them, to make deals, to understand their technology, and to ensure they were on humanity's good side. Ambassador Yujin found herself surrounded by military representatives offering alliance treaties. General Kyung-ho was being questioned about human combat doctrine. Technology Minister Myung-soo had a line of scientists waiting to talk to him about railgun, physics, but the most important conversation was happening between President Changmin and several species that had been conquered by the hegemony generations ago. President Changmin, said an elderly alien with rough gray skin, my people have been slaves to the hegemony for 300 years. If humanity truly opposes conquest and slavery, will you help us gain our freedom? Changmin looked at the alien's hopeful face. What is your species called? We are the Corvin. Our homeworlds were taken when I was young. Now our children grow up as workers in hegemony factories. Ambassador Yujin, Changmin called over his diplomatic chief. Please add the Corvin liberation to our diplomatic priorities. The old Corvin's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, President. We had given up hope. Similar conversations were happening all around the chamber. Species that had been bullied by the hegemony for centuries were finally seeing a chance for justice. As the human delegation prepared to leave, General Kyung-ho received an urgent message on his communicator. He read it quickly and then approached President Changmin. Sir, we have a problem. Long-range sensors have detected a massive hegemony fleet gathering near their homeworlds. Intelligence estimates over 1,000 ships. Changmin nodded. He had expected this. The hegemony would not accept their defeat quietly. How long until our new shipyards are operational? He asked. 6 months for the first facilities, sir, but we can start converting civilian ships to railgun platforms immediately. Technology Minister Myung-soo overheard this conversation. Sir, I should mention that our newer railgun designs are significantly more powerful than what we used at Sejong. If the hegemony wants a real war, we can give them one. Changmin looked around the chamber one more time. Aliens were watching him, waiting to see how humanity would handle this new challenge. General Kyung-ho, begin preparations for a larger conflict. Ambassador Yujin, start negotiating military alliances with our new friends. Minister Myung-soo, I want our best weapons ready for production. And if the hegemony attacks with their full fleet? Yujin asked. Changmin smiled. And for the first time, the expression reminded everyone why humans had become the most feared species in the galaxy. Then we will show them what happens when you bring 1,000 ships to a railgun fight. As The human delegation left the council chambers. Every alien in the room understood that the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. The age of hegemony dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun.